What up, YouTube? We are back with another vlog. Appreciate y'all tuning in. If you're new to the channel, make sure you're subscribed right now. I'm putting out weekly vlogs. So, only thing that's new with this session, I'm at MGM, but I'm starting to teach my friend how to play poker, and I'm basically teaching him from scratch. So if you want to watch a couple of those sessions on what I'm actually teaching them, just let me know and I'll record a little bit of the tutelage that's going on. But just want to say thank y'all for your support. We are officially at 2,000 subscribers. Look out for a giveaway coming out soon. Leave a comment if you want to be part of the giveaway. But we're going to get right to the felt and let's see some hands. So in this hand, we're looking at King Queen offsuit under the gun. We raise it up to $15. Not the strongest hand, but definitely worth the raise. So we get next to active call and the small blind. So we're going three ways to the flop, which is 10-4-3 with two hearts. So all I have is two overs and a backdoor straight draw. However, I do have the range advantage. So I'm going to put out a bet of $20 into 45 and only the small blind decides to call. The turn is the 10 of clubs, bringing in the second flush draw, but also pairing the top card. So I'm thinking for a moment, and I'm deciding that I do want to put another barrel. Obviously, if he has a 10, he's probably going to raise with two flush draws out there. But if he doesn't, it's going to be really hard because I could have a 10 or I could have all of the over pairs, and it'll probably get a lot of his flush draws, so just give it up. So I decided to bet out $60, which is 75% of the pot. And he thinks about it for quite a while, and he's saying that I probably have pocket kings, and eventually he comes to the decision to fold, and he has pocket nines. So that's a pretty good result, getting pocket nines to fold, and sometimes that's just what aggression does in poker, especially when you're just showing that you're not scared of anything. That's just going to make them believe that they're going to be beat. Obviously, there's going to be times where we have value and we're betting like this and we don't get called. But that's just the way poker is. And when you're bluffing, sometimes you can just slightly exploitatively bet a little bit larger. If I wanted to call and I had pocket kings, maybe I would bet 50 because I think that's a more appetizing price for him to call. But we wanted to fold, so we bet just a little bit larger and we get it through. He did also comment he was scared of me going all in on the river, which I would have. So in this next hand, we have pocket tens in the big blind. There's an under the gun raise to $15. I had got some background information about this player that he was just raising really light, going all in pretty light. So when four people call and it gets to me, I know that pocket tens is more than likely the best hand since no one else re-raised him. So I just decided to go all in. I know it does seem like a lot, but it's only $250. And if I was to go standard of 4x plus the dead money, that would land me at around $135 raise. And the under the gun raiser only has about $200 in its stack altogether. So I decided to rip it all in. If everybody folds, I still scoop up $75 of dead money either way. But to my surprise, he actually does decide to call. And he asked me if I have an ace or aces, and I say no. So then he said we're flipping because he has ace king. And I said, okay, no problem. And we're off to a flop, which is Jack 10-3. So obviously we have a set, so we're golden here, but we're not out of the woods. Any queen does give him a straight. The turn is a 9, which seems scary, even though it's not. And the river is another 9, and we boat up, and he is out of there. We stack him, and he leaves. And it was great to run good in that hand. And so now we are definitely in the profit, and we're rolling good, and we're just hoping to keep this run good going the rest of this session. So this hand is pretty interesting, actually. We have King Jack on the cutoff, and we raise it up to $15. Only the under the gun limper decides to call. So we're off to a flop, which is 10-7-3 with two clubs. So all we have is two overcards and some back doors. And when he checks, I normally would bet here almost 100% of the time because I could have all the overpairs. But every once in a while, I would check back. And I do so, and we're off to a turn, which is the ace of clubs. So it does bring in the flush, but he checks once again. So I know he doesn't have an ace or have a flush because normally they would bet here. So I decide to bet up for $25, close to pot, and he decides to call. So I'm not overly concerned that he has a strong hand. It's possible he has an ace, but more than likely I'm thinking he has a pretty big club, maybe the king, queen, or jack of clubs, since I don't have any of those. So we're off to a river, which is a queen, which actually gives me Broadway. I just backed into it. And so I'm loving this spot, but actually something puzzling happens as he leads the river for $45. And I'm trying to decide if I should just raise or if I should just call. Now, you could make a merit for folding because when
older players decide to just lead the river, it's because they have a hand that they don't want to go check. But he could just have 2 pair here. He could have a set here. I'm just slow planning and being tricky, thinking that I might check back here. So the hands that I beat would be sets, and I'm losing to all flushes, obviously. So I'm wrestling with my decision, and this is the audio from the table on what happens. Hey, I'm about to lose some money, so watch right here. Make hammer again. Should I do it? It's over the scene. All right. Play? No, Nah, I might be making a nitty play. This might be really nitty.
Stage like pass.
All right, I call.
I think that's right.
I got a straight. Straight good?
On some new.
Oh, why you waiting for me to show? You got the nuts.
Go through by still large sleep crossword. I thought you raised.
I said I called.
He was kind of confused. He was asking him about his iron will do sword out till every time one again.
So I guess my read was right by just calling, and I wasn't overly mad about the situation. He's trying to say that because he's seen the black chip, he thought that maybe I was raising, even though I clearly announced call. So I don't think that he was angling me. I just think that he seen that black chip with the nuts, and he was just hoping that it was a raise so he could go all in and get that double up. So I guess no harm, no foul. Do you think that this was an angle? Or do you think that it was like a slow roll? Or what do you think about the situation? But I don't have no problem with it. I know sometimes it's hard to hear people on the other side of the table, so you're just looking at the chips for action. But anyways, we lose his hand. He has the nuts. I can't beat it. But I guess it was a good thing that I just decided on a call and not a raise. But if I was at higher stakes games, there would be a greater chance of me deciding to raise here. But this line is just so strong in low stakes. And just from my personal experience, I've always seen this as having it more than it's not having it. And by having it, I mean something close to the nuts. So anyways, you can drop your comments below. Let me know what you think about the hand. So just a couple hands later, we get ace queen of clubs in the big blind. And I decided to raise it up to $15. And the same guy that just beat me with a flush calls, and the small blind player to my right decides to call. So unfortunately, we do not flop a flush, but we do flop pretty well on the queen 7-3. However, there is all spades on the board. I could check here, but I decided to bet up for $20, trying to get value from any single spade hands, or maybe a bottom pair with a spade, something of the sort. So that bet, however, gets both of them to fold. And then I know it's not really an eventful hand, but it does feel good to shortly thereafter losing a decent pot to win a little bit back. It's like a small rebate.
So now we're going to go over a hand from the app session. We raise it up to 12 under the gun. It folds around to the small blind, who decides to 3-bet it up to 56. When it gets to me, I could be putting in a 4-bet here since we're shorthanded. However, I haven't seen this player run very many bluffs here, so I'm just going to decide to call in position. And also, he's been running extremely well today. So with all those factors, I just call, and we are off to a flop, which comes pretty good. It comes 4-6-3 with all spades. So obviously, we have the nut flush draw and 2 overs. So when he bets out for 89, I could be putting a raise here and just flip it with pocket queens, because at this point we're 50-50 against those hands. But being in position with the nut flush draw, I just decide to call. And my hand could still be good against maybe hands like Jack 10 suited or King Queen or even Ace Queen. So I just call in position, and bink, we see the King of Diamonds on this card. And it could be a bad card if he has a hand like pocket 10s, Jacks, or Queens. He's downgraded the second pair. But when he checks, I'm still going to charge those hands because they don't necessarily have to believe that I hit a king on the turn. So I bet out for $194 and our opponent calls. So now we're on the river, which is a board pairing 3 of diamonds. And with only $230 left into a $680 pot, there's only one option to do, and that's go all in. Our opponent does tank for a while, but he unfortunately does fold. He does show that he had pocket jacks with the jack of spades, so definitely could have got it all in on the flop. But just let me know how you would have played this hand. Would you have did something different pre or post flop? Let me know, but we're on to the next hand. This hand was even tougher than the first one. So we're looking at King Queen offsuit in the big blind, and there's a $12 raise from the cutoff. When it gets to me, I could be putting a 3-bet, but in this hand, I just decided to call. Haven't seen the opponent get too wide of line, so we're off to a flop, which comes King 9 deuce all diamonds. So obviously we have top pair, good kicker. However, we do not have a diamond. So when we check to our opponent, they decide to bet $18. I mean, obviously, we have top pair. We're not going anywhere. So we call. Pretty standard stuff so far. And we're off to a 7 of spades. Pretty much a brick. A little bit of connectivity with the 9, but nothing really to worry about. And when we check, our opponent bets out for $50. I'm not really loving this spot. This is a double barrel. It's pretty strong. They're trying to tell me that they have a better king than me, or they have a flop flush or anything like that. But I'm still thinking my hand is a little bit too strong to fold just yet. I want to evaluate a river. And the river is an 8 of spade, not the greatest card. If they had Jack 10 with like a diamond, they now have a straight and we're beat. However, it gets worse when our opponent jams all in for 164. That's about a pot size bet. I know that I could be beat here a lot, but I still think that there's a lot of just ace of diamond, naked ace of diamond hands that they could have. So I decided to put in the call, and our opponent had king 10. So they had a weaker king than us, but they did have the diamond draw chasing that diamond or two pair. And we held on and we win a big pot. If you want to get on the app, there's daily games. Just leave a comment or hit me up. My information is in the description. I'll get you into the daily cash games. Just holla at me and we'll get to it. But right now, we're back to the felt.
But anyways, on to the next hand. In this hand, we're looking at a decent starting hand, ace jack. I say decent because under the gun in a 10 max game, you can simply just fold this for stack. However, in an 8 max game, this is clearly an open and 15 is my standard sizing. So I get 2 callers and we're off to an ace 10 7 flop that contains 2 hearts. I do possess the ace of heart in case that becomes relevant. When small blind checks to me, I decide to check, either to check raise the button if he bets, or maybe just for deception if not. And at this time, the button decides just to check, and we are off to a turn, which is a jack of hearts, bringing in the possible flush and king queen for a straight, which is definitely possible because the flop checked through. But my hand upgraded to top table pair with the nut flush draw, so I'm going to bet my hand until someone tells me they have something better by way of raising. So I decided to bet up for $20, which is only half pot, but I definitely could bet pot here since it's such a dynamic board. But this folds out the button and brings along the small blind. The river is a brick, 4 of diamonds, and I don't get the sense at this point that our opponent has very much, so I just decided a smaller sizing of 50, and he doesn't take too long, and he folds, and we take it down. Moving along, we have pocket queens. There was a cutoff raise to $15, and I decided to 3-bet it up to 50. He doesn't think about it for too long when it folds back to him, and he calls. And we were off to the flop, which is queen jack 7 with 2 hearts. I mean, I think I just totally destroyed this board. However, there are 2 hearts out there, and he could have pocket jacks, which would be great. Or we could have like 2 Broadway cards that have a straight draw possibly. So I want to charge those just a little bit. I don't put out that big of a bet. I only bet 40, which is a down bet, but he folds pretty quickly. He tells me he has ace 10, so I do show him that I flopped the set. I don't mind showing my hands. I do run a poker vlog where I show all of my hands, and I also tell people the way that I think about the game. So being at the table showing hands isn't really a big deal. I know some people in the comments say, hey, don't show your hand, don't show your hands. But most of the time, especially when I'm playing 1-3, I'm not going to play with these players very often, maybe once or twice a year. So them seeing 4 or 5 of my hands face up isn't going to give them the edge over me by any means. So anyways, that's just that. Let's move on to some other ones. So moving along, we have another premium. We have J hooks on the button. There is an under the gun limp, so I decided to raise it up to $20. And of course, only Mr. Flush decides to call. How great. So we are off to the flop, ace king 3 rainbow. So at least we know he's not going to turn a flush on me. However, I'm still resistant to bet this flop because even though this is my perceived range, and 1-3 and even 2-5 to a smaller degree, there's going to be a lot more ace rag, suited and unsuited, represented in the limp call under the gun. So I just decide to bet 20, and he quickly calls. Sure, this could be a straight draw with queen 10 or jack 10, even though I'm double blocking jack 10. But it's way more likely that he has an ace-x hand here than anything else. And I'm not in the business of trying to make players fold an ace at 1-3. So unless we hit a jack on the turn, I'm just going to shut it down. And guess what we hit? If you guessed the 7 of hearts, then you're correct. And when he checks now, unimproved, we are just going to check back and shut it down. And I know this is weird, but as you see, before the river even comes out, he makes a pretty large bet. And I don't even care to see how much it is. This is just never a bluff. There's no use trying to find the bluffs because there aren't any. And if I just call here, I'm just going to get shown down the goods. And when I discard my hand, he shows that he has ace 7 for a turn 2 pair. And I'm still having a pretty good session, but man, this guy is kicking my ass.
All right, that is it for the video. Let's go over the totals. As far as the MGM session, I am up $400. Only played about 4 hours altogether, so that's pretty good in 1-3. And as far as the app, I showed you 2 hands where I won close to $600, but overall for the week, I'm up around $1,400 on the app. Add that with the vlog total at MGM, that's $1,800. Like I said, if you want to join the app, just let me know. I'll get you in. Like, comment, or subscribe to the video if you got to this point. Comment on your favorite hands. Let me know if you want to see the new part about me teaching my boy how to play poker. I can add videos in like that too. But I definitely have a lot more stuff that I'm opening up in this vlog. It's not going to be just straight poker hands. I'm going to make it a little bit more about the life of a gambler and things like that. So appreciate your support. Stay tuned for more to come. And until next video, holla.